Today I'm going to be sharing part one of working on a new embroidery project. So I said a couple of embroidery project videos ago that one of the things that I really wanted to do before fall starts, or before I got like some fall themed embroidery, was I wanted to finish the floral ones that I had first. So this was actually the final floral one that I had, and I really like how it turned out. You will be seeing part two, which is going to be finishing this project on Sunday. So basically, again, I did choose to go ahead and speed up this video, which I'm sure you can probably tell. I do that for a few reasons, because one, it's just easier on my vocal cords to do the voiceover, but also I know that sometimes it's difficult to sit and watch a really long video, and sometimes shorter videos where you do like part one, part two, you know, etc., are just a little bit easier, and I totally get that because I feel the same way. Anyway, so this project, I was actually really happy with the way it turned out. I started off with this project having kind of like a summer vibe, but then I kind of went into having like a fall vibe with it, which I absolutely love, and I'm so happy with the way it turned out. Now, I will also say that I did use the colors that they provided in this kit for this project here. Normally I just use the colors that I want, like from the colors that I have separately, but I did use the colors that they provided. I just did not fully follow the pattern of colors that they wanted, if that makes sense. I just did this kind of my own way, and I really like doing it that way because I think it's, one, more fun, but two, it's a fun way to get really creative and try out different color combos. But I did use the thread that they included. I just put the thread where I wanted to put it, if that makes sense. And also, I do like to say this every time I do an embroidery project, I am still very much a beginner at this. Now, obviously, I do feel like every time I go to work on an embroidery project, I do get better at it. Obviously, you know that statement, practice makes perfect, but I'm still a beginner at this, so I definitely still make mistakes, which definitely happened with this one, because there was one flower on here that I thought it would turn out a different way, and it did not, and I really didn't like it, but I was able to fix it, and I did end up liking it after I fixed it, but that happens sometimes. And also, I did not separate out these strands of thread, which I know you're supposed to do, and I'm sure that's probably going to make some people annoyed who are like hardcore into embroidery, but this is just what works best for me. I have tried to separate out these strands of thread in the past, and it just is more difficult for me to do it that way than it is to do it this way. So again, I would always recommend just do what's easiest for you and what is best for you. This was probably one of the most detailed floral projects I have done with embroidery so far, and I'm going to be honest, when I first looked at this project, I was a little bit intimidated by it because I was like, oh, this has a lot of details, but once I got into it, it didn't feel as intimidating. And my initial plan for this project was to do the like the leaves and the vines all in one sitting, and then do the flowers after. That was going to be the first, like that was going to be like the first part of this project, but then I was like, you know what, we're not going to do that. We're just going to kind of go like random here. So yeah, I actually did this project in 2 days, and I actually was going to edit this video into only being one full-length video, but I just decided to go ahead and do a part one and a part two. And one thing I will say though is that if I still have quite a bit of thread left over from one color that I'm using on the needle, I'm going to go ahead and use it in other areas of the project. That way I don't waste that thread. So I'm just, like you can see here, I'm just using that thread to do other aspects of this project so that I'm not wasting this color. Now, I will say though, I feel like when you are doing an embroidery project, you could always make an embroidery project like seasonal, because if I wanted this to be like full-on fall, I could have done some more fall colors with this, but this being like the outline. But yeah, I've been looking around for some fall themed embroidery projects. So far, I've not found any, but I'm definitely going to need to check Amazon here soon, because I feel like that's probably going to be one of the best places to find them. But yeah. One thing I will also say though that I actually don't necessarily like about embroidery kits that you can get, where they include like the hoop, the pattern, the thread, the needle, etc., is they don't include a needle, like a threader for your needle. So I would definitely recommend getting one separately or just having one on hand. That way that's not something that you have to worry about, because I do personally, and this is just my own personal opinion, I do think that that is kind of annoying that they do not include that, if you know that is something that is very useful to have. Now the layers to the flowers, I'm gonna say this, I'm not gonna lie, I actually contemplated just not doing the layers of the flowers at all, but I'm really happy I did do them, because I thought that the way the flowers turned out was so pretty. And yeah, so I actually had a few brief moments of like, do I do all the layers like they want you to do, or do I just do it all in one fell thing? And I was like, no, we're gonna go ahead and do the layers, because I just wanted to see what it would look like, and it was really pretty. One thing I also do want to note about some of the embroidery projects that I've done recently, I think it was like the last 3-ish. I don't know if there's been like something wrong with like that, like bolt thingy that's, you know, holding the hoop together. But the last couple of embroidery projects I've done, I've had to kind of unscrew that little screw there, re-tighten down the pattern, and then re-screw it back together, because I feel like it comes loose, which I don't know why. Like the first time, a couple of times I did embroidery, I did not experience that, so I thought that was a little interesting. But I actually really enjoy doing this project. I do think embroidery is actually very peaceful. Now I will say though, the part that it can become not so peaceful, for me would be because, you know, I'm sure to some people when they do embroidery, they have the attitude of, oh, I'll just finish it when I finish it. I'm kind of that mentality, but at the same time, I'm kind of if I'm going to start a project, I'm going to have it finished in the next couple of days. So sometimes I feel like that's a good thing, like a good mentality to have. And sometimes I feel like that's not such a good mentality, because it can put a little bit of stress on you. But yeah, I will say though that if you're a person that likes to travel, I would definitely recommend taking it with you. I will say though, I would definitely make sure that you keep the needle, when you're not using it, attached to the project. That way you don't have to like we don't keep losing it, if that makes sense, because I feel like embroidery needles, same with like sewing pins, like they just get lost and things like that happen. But if you're a person who is starting embroidery, or you have someone who is like starting embroidery, or you know, something like that, I would recommend making a small little kit, like get some really fun little projects. I would also recommend getting a pack of needles, like that way you don't just have like the one needle from the kit. I would get some needles. I would also get either like a couple of like little threaders, but I would also recommend getting some excess thread, like a couple packages of thread. That way, like I said earlier, if you don't like the color of thread that they include in the kit, like you can do whatever color that you want. And that, like, not following the full pattern might make some people annoyed, and I get that. I know that there are a lot of people out there who have the attitude of, I'm going to go ahead and follow this exact, and that's totally fine. I'm a person who is sometimes like that, and I'm also a person who's like, we're going to go ahead and do this like my way, but we're still going to follow the pattern. But like, we're not going to do it 100% what the pattern says. We're going to do it with the colors that I want, which I know that sounds kind of bad. Like, I know with sewing you have to follow the pattern exactly, and otherwise it's not going to, otherwise whatever you're making is not going to turn out the way it needs to turn out. But when it comes to something like embroidery, I say just do whatever colors that you want. I love how this pink flower turned out. I thought it was so pretty. So we're getting to the end of part 1 here. Like I said, you will see part 2 on Sunday. And this is right here is kind of where I started going to like the fall colors. And I will also, I thought this was quite funny. A part of this project was like multi shades of purple. I thought that was kind of funny. But this is definitely where you can see like the fall tones come into the project. And the other reason why I do want to take a moment to quickly talk about why I don't separate out the thread like you're supposed to do. One, because I just personally don't like doing it, but also every single time I have gone to separate out the thread in the past with projects, it literally causes the thread, from my experience, to get very knotted, and I feel like that's just kind of wasteful with the thread. So yeah. I will say this, between this part 1 here and part 2, I did quite a bit of this project off camera because it was just easier for me to do some of this off camera. But I did make sure to include as much of it as I could into the video, but I did do a lot of this off camera. It was just a little bit easier for me. So this is going to be it for part 1. Like I said, part 2 is going to be on Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to part 2 going up because you'll obviously get to see the end result. And I have a whole playlist of embroidery on my channel.